welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
I'm Dr. Ashley K. Smalls.
And I'm Anthony Oliveira, and we're here to talk about the Season 2 finale of X-Men 97, Survival of the Fittest.
All right. I feel like we're probably all on the same page. What did we think of this episode as a finale, as part of the season? Ashley, you go first.
Why would they do that?
Oh, no.
I don't even have a comment. I have questions. Why the fuck would you do that? I have questions. I got a long ass list of questions, and I did my best. I'm happy you had me for the last episode because when I came in when I did this season with y'all. I came in for episode 5, which was the Wolverine episode, and I remember distinctly that was sort of the turning point. Yeah. But because it was the first episode after what was basically 4 episodes of nothing but peak, we all were hesitant to be like, oh my God, they're going downhill, because it was one episode. It was like,
yeah,
you gotta have that one filler, and at least it was fun. And it kind of tied in with season 1 because we all left season 1 on like Morph is in a situationship and he doesn't know it. This is gonna be crazy. So it's like we allowed it. But we kind of had open, we all kind of touched on, I hope that this is not about to be and it definitely was. And now here we are. And it's like, it's crazy. I don't even know how to fully form my thoughts because it's like I'm in between that was a bad episode and more like it had such great moments.
It does. It
had great moments that if I chopped it up and did one of those like edits, it would make it look like this is the best thing ever. When you look at the episode as a whole, it's like how did we, I don't know, it's a combination of how did we get here, but also it does technically tie in with where we were, but it's also like, what the fuck happened in between? And then y'all remember that Apocalypse was the big bad, so here we are again. So it's not even a straightforward, like, I didn't like this. It's just like, I don't even know. It feels like the makings of something I'm supposed to enjoy, but it erases so much of what I was enjoying from this season. I'm just like, how the fuck did we get here?
Yeah. Anthony?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have to echo. I always feel bad. Like I don't like to talk about things I don't like. I have often not been on this show because it's like, I don't have anything nice to say about that. And like, I'm very sensitive to like how hard it is to work on something like this and how hard it is to work with an IP. And, but I think, so I agreed to be on this thinking I would enjoy something about it. And I feel like this episode is really the climax of a thread that we've kind of known was, the same as what Ashley was saying, that like something has been unraveling in the entire back half of this season. And we all know there's like plenty of like meta-textual stuff happening behind the scenes that might help explain some of it, but to me doesn't explain all of it. And I feel like this episode is more of an autopsy of like, well, what went wrong here more than it is like here's what we enjoyed. Like I just feel like I'm looking at sort of the refuse bin of a bunch of plots and a bunch of ideas that never came across the finish line. This episode, not even like, this show has always had a problem of like burning through things too fast, but it has always kind of like done them and then moved on what felt quickly. This episode is full of like, just like car crashes of like plots that ended up going nowhere. Like, the rogue Chondra external crystal, it was implanted last episode and is removed this episode and has nothing. It's not even that it had no payoff. It never mattered at all, right? So you're looking at a bunch of like dropped threads and like a climax that is not a climax at all, right? Like Apocalypse, as much as they talked about what a threat he was and tried to build him up and did it quite well. Like the early episodes of the season do a good job of selling him as like Apocalypse is a silly character, right? Like he is a silly looking, silly 90s-ish. He's technically an 80s character, but like he's a 90s-ish concept. And he literally had no plan. Like there was nothing that he was doing. He sort of comes back in Gambit and actually is not doing anything. And then they just beat him up. And that's the end of that.
They don't even beat him up. He just
it's just like a Sailor Moon healing moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony, I will say, to your credit, though, I kept trying to think of your very fair when you were on, you were like, it feels like a patchwork season. And I kept reminding myself
Yeah.
how true that was. But to your point earlier, I do feel like, but still, even if the plot was messy, the beats aren't there. It's just like you said, it's a car crash. It's like, oop, this thing happened. Now here's the next one. Now here's the next one. And like we're all academics here. I'm as much as it seems like I don't. I have a master's. I feel like we all know when you're writing something like that, you have to let the beat settle, and nothing
Yeah.
settles in this episode. It's
And
just
like, I guess I'll say this. Like, I've been hesitant about the whole no, Bo DiMaio thing, but like, um, putting aside whatever happened, like I don't, there's the Variety article, and if that's all it is, I don't feel like that's sufficient to have done what they've done. But putting aside all of it, if you're going to meddle with the plotting, which it seems is what happened,
Yeah.
that's a different issue. Like if the story he was interested in telling is not the story you want to tell, you have to replace it with something else. Like you
Yes,
can't just
yeah.
like use the scraps of a different story and try to staple them together. Like you have to say something. And the thing I've been struggling with for the last few episodes, and I expressed this concern when I was on, is I don't understand what this is building towards, and I certainly don't understand what it's saying. Because I think X-Men should always say something, and it should say something urgent. And I felt like what was so refreshing and interesting about season one was it took the allegory of the X-Men and really thought about like what is the most interesting and salient plot lines they've done in the comics since, and how can we even push them further and think about them more, and sort of like the way it was using Genosha and the way it used all of these sort of like images of intense genocide and intense
Yeah.
persecution, and Bastion is sort of like, well, this is the threat taken to its ultimate degree. This is what humanity is willing to do to exclude. That was exciting and it was interesting, and it had an energy to it that this just like, I can see a way to use Apocalypse and
Yes.
to use the threads of this season to tell a story. But to go to the end of this and be like, and Rogue will use her Sailor Moon powers to heal Gambit, and then Nightcrawler will die off stage. It's like, what?
And no one
What?
will say anything about it. Like,
What was that about?
Yeah, and then they last minute tried to make some message of it with like Crawler's monologue at the end, but it's like you can't you can't have that be the payoff when you don't plant the seeds for it throughout
Exactly.
the season. You can't just have him randomly talk about these moments of togetherness, which is like, don't get me wrong. Of course, yes, we've seen the X-Men together, but it's like we didn't get that recent enough to then want us to tie back to the fact like we know everyone here loves each other, but we've barely even seen the school this
Yeah.
season. Like we got the moment where Storm was made headmistress, and then really the next time we saw her when she was like, "Oh, they jump in my family. Hold up, hold up, no, no, no,
yeah.
no, no." Like so it's like you can't then just have Nightcrawler try to give us this speech. I mean, crazy enough, he showed more emotion in terms of the overall season to his brother that hates him than the
Mhm.
sister that he ended up giving his life for in the end. So like it spoke to Nightcrawler's character, like it was very in character for him, but we didn't get enough of that. It's like y'all remembered last minute, oh, we should probably give some moments between Rogue and Nightcrawler so that it doesn't seem completely random when he decides to die for her. It's like, well, if you
Yeah.
had done a
Yeah.
better job of that all season, like, it would have been a big
Yeah.
payoff.
If Rogue had been, for example, um, if Rogue had been like Matter, if Rogue had been more of a presence in that Exodus, Acolytes, Trial of Great and Creed episode, and Nightcrawler had been sort of showing her the importance of mercy and the importance of like love and self-sacrifice. Like I keep invoking Sailor Moon. I don't mind a story that's about the power of love, but if
Right.
that's what this season has been about, you have to show me and sell me that.
And season
Um,
one told us more on that than this season.
yeah, like there's a way to take Apocalypse's idea of like survival of the fittest. He has that moment where he says to Xavier, like, the people who you care about are going to be your weakness. And Xavier's like, no, they're our strength. Like, if that had been what we were kind of using and threading throughout, then you can earn this kind of,
Yes.
we're going to risk the vulnerability of care because it is also the way we survive. But Nightcrawler has not been a plot. He's not been tied to this whatsoever. He's sort of completely ancillary to the Apocalypse plot. Gambit is not doing anything. There isn't like a scheme that Apocalypse is motivating, right? Like he comes back, he suddenly has these like I can make you evil powers, which is like, okay, you should probably explain what that is.
Right.
Um, but it's not like there's like an imminent threat. Like Bastion is like turning everybody into evil murder robots, right? Like that's a plan. Like
Yes.
um all that Gambit did was turn the execution or the what is it,
The
Murderers Guild,
externals?
the no
Externals?
the other guild, the
Oh
Assassins
yeah,
Guild.
assassin. Yeah.
He corrupts the Assassins Guild. We don't even see them this episode. Like
Mm.
there is no scheme. So it's like, well, what you're just saving Gambit by hugging him to death. And it's like, okay. I guess you didn't even show me
Right.
Apocalypse and the external. Like you didn't show me the moment he risked being in love and it didn't pay off, right? Like it feels like that's the thing that got ripped out of this is like that gem that went into Rogue was somehow going to bring up this external stuff. I wonder if they were interested in sort of adapting the Genesis plot, Apocalypse's wife from the comics very recently. That would have been a way to tie in the like love is bad for you kind of story, but it didn't do anything. So I'm
Yeah,
looking for car
I
crash.
I almost feel like season 1 was X2 and season 2 was X-Men Last Stand, where it's
Hmm.
like, oh, it's still the things I enjoy, but we're just speeding through everything and nothing, we're not hitting any emotional beats. The the X Factor slash X Force versus X Men was a bigger fight than Apocalypse versus the X
Mhm.
Men, which is bananas. I love like, oh, the heroes have to fight each other. Sure,
I hate it. I always hate that.
I'm into it, but like X Factor was such a non thing that even at the end when all the mutants are there, X Factor is not there. I was like, are
Mhm.
they just leave them to die in the building? Like,
There's
um,
also nothing about the stakes of who's fighting who that means anything,
yes,
right? Like Psylocke versus Wolverine, does he even know her name? I'd be stunned if on this show he knew her name, right? Like, um, who else is fighting? Like Polaris versus Strong Guy, or Bishop versus Strong Guy, and like Polaris versus Rain. It's like I never saw. If I want to see her with any of these characters in a scene, I have to go back to the
Havoc.
original
Yeah,
cartoon. Havoc
yeah.
versus Jubilee in a plane, like.
Havoc should have been versus Polaris to make it, or versus Cyclops to finally maybe prevent
Sure.
them being brothers. Um,
Yeah. Oh my God. See,
right?
this is where I get upset because I'm like, you had these two summers and they didn't have one interaction the entire fucking season.
No,
What?
and Havoc
Does
and
like
Cable.
Cyclops not know that's his brother? Because
Does
he knows
Havoc
at
know
this
that's
point who's leading the
his
team.
nephew?
Nothing was
Like,
like, oh, not only just that's his brother, but
You're
that's his
right.
nephew.
yeah,
There is
Yeah.
yeah.
nothing.
Never seems to have come up.
What?
And also I didn't like Cable joining with it, just felt uncable like to join with X Factor. Like I feel like he would have just he's mad at his parents and Xavier, sure. But I feel like he would fucking hate Val Cooper and X Factor. And I didn't buy the team up of, oh yeah, we're all gonna kill Gambit, because why did X Factor know about and care about Gambit?
Mm. And also,
Right?
like, there's a lot of pieces where it's like this mech sentinel thing. It's like, well, they need an army. It'll be sentinels. Like, are we putting humans in it so that it feels like less of a horrible
Right?
hate crime? Is that the idea? Like,
Right?
because like Marvel also tried to sell us on like the heroic Sentinel pilots way back when, and it's like that'll never fly actually. Or is it just that it makes it like there's a stake, like Storm can't kill them, she can't just blow up these Sentinels, so like you can blow those people up actually. I'm actually
Yeah, I
fine with
mean,
anyone who climbs into a Sentinel
even
suit getting blown up.
the fights this season just were so, or I'll stick with even just this episode. I was so fucking disappointed because, and it also didn't make sense because it's like you had, I mean, how do I even explain this? Because it really, really pissed me off watching Cable just shoot at Apocalypse.
Uh-huh.
It was just like, you don't have a fucking bigger gun. Like, I'm just confused. Like, this has been your life's mission to kill this man, and all you got is is the gat. Like, this was really crazy. I just because once the shit like flipped and also like that in itself was very stupid. I don't know if Cable remembers that he's supposed to be psionic and that he's not just like a
Mm.
bodybuilder, but
Uh-huh.
like when he shoots what is basically our Gambit, who we got back for all of 20 seconds. And then it's like, yeah, it's like I feel like you should have known at some point, okay, so Apocalypse is using this as like a vessel. So if you
Yeah,
kill what is
he's
holding him
in
back,
there.
which is
Yeah.
essentially a sentient Gambit, nothing in you is saying, is it possible that Apocalypse, who's barely really been functioning off of a body, might still be able to use this body to like, like that's not,
Mhm.
but then he just keeps shooting at it. And it's like, you got powers, right? Like, you're a mutant. I think this is the time to call your mom or your mom's clone.
Well,
I don't know what we're
that's the
going
other
with.
thing is like we spent this season, the beginning of the season is about like young Cable being raised by Jean and Cyclops. And seems to be about like one way of thinking about the world versus another. He learned no lesson, right? Like he's no different for that contact than he seems to have been. He doesn't seem to have been in any way softened by it. The show kind of just Hail Marys that whole character growth into the next season when he sort of handed the seed of Apocalypse. And it's like, similarly, like the idea that Apocalypse needs to have a new vessel is not something we've really actually
I
explored or explained or anything. Why is it Gambit? What is so valuable
Anthony, that
about
is in my
Gambit?
notes, is like, what was his plan? Why did he need to transfer bodies into Gambit? Like,
Why is he wearing this enormous 18-foot coat? Like, like it's just like this is a very silly design. I don't know. It looks
all
like
right. Wait, go ahead. He looks like what?
it looks like Death from Castlevania. Like it's like this like duster coat. I don't know. I feel
So
bad. I do feel bad saying these kinds of things, but
a lot, a lot of, I kept thinking that a lot of this plot, especially the finale, felt like a plot I played with my toys when I was like 10. Like I was like, oh, it's just bad guy. There's a bad guy and they gotta fight. That doesn't matter. They're just fighting. And it felt that's what a lot of this felt like. And I played a lot of different plots with my X-Men toys. I was
mhm.
like, ooh, this character will die, but then they come back to life. Like I would like try to make it like a cool plot, but there was never a plot. And that's what this felt like. Because even from the beginning, so this is me trying to get us on track with the episode, when they go to the ship that is underwater, they have their little submarine jet thing. Again, this felt like I needed a discussion. I needed to know, like it felt like there was just a beat of like we're doing this so Rogue can become a Celestial, and that also felt like some leftover plot that would have mattered at some point, but it didn't matter here, and it
Mhm.
was just a
Mhm.
Deus Ex Machina, and like I don't know, I thought she looked fucking stupid. I thought she looked really stupid in her Celestial like I saw a screen cap of that yesterday before I'd watched it, and I thought it was AI because I was like, "Well, that looks stupid. It looks like she's in like Wonder Woman '84." And
The
then
Wonder Woman fucking headband.
yes,
And
Why
what
I
the
do you
just,
fuck?
have the W's on
I,
it?
I
and I
really
really
thought it
don't
was
like
AI.
talking about it like this either. But just the fact, like, I really felt stupid watching it. Wonder Woman kept coming to my head every time they zoomed in. And the fact that you just said it's like, all right, so we really were all watching this and having
Glad it's
the
not just
exact same
me.
thoughts. Okay, that makes me feel good. It, and then all of that. And in the end, when it came down to the Rogue versus Apocalypse, she ended up using her exact powers anyways. So I'm over here thinking it was going to give her some like,
Yes,
shoo shoo, like she about to start doing some shit that's out of what she can normally do because she's gotten this
Yeah.
power. And I'm like, I don't know if the whole sense of it was that as a mutant, she wouldn't have been able to withstand using her power on Apocalypse. So she needed the
I think you're giving it more
celestial
thought
power
than they did.
to
That's the thing is it's like, well, it sounds like what the Celestial has been doing is like empowering someone to be like a force for evolutionary change,
Right?
right? Like
Yeah.
that's the idea of what the apocalypse empowerment is supposed to be. But then to just make him like this genie who's like, well, now you can have even more power. And also like Apocalypse looks gross as hell when he gets transformed. Like his head's got that like shaved like line in it. Rogue is still hot and in a cape. You know, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
that's not fair.
I know I would have a bit of an attitude like, wait, hold on. Y'all turned me into a fucking
Yeah.
zombie and she gets to
Yeah.
be a bad bitch?
Like
Yeah,
she looks cheap.
exactly.
She gets the
And then the
glow.
Celestial, it's like that's already kind of like, well, this guy's been doing this job for 2000 years. Seems like he's doing fine. Why does he need a replacement? But also then to add like Nightcrawler also gets a wish wish. It's like you just give wishes. You're just
You
like,
just wanted people dead. You just want a
yeah,
random
like
ass
one at a
person to
time.
sacrifice
Like,
himself.
I that was like weird. I was like, I don't understand. Is yeah, because it was like, does anyone just go in there and get something? Because it felt like when Rogue was there, the Celestial was like, no, and then like, all right. So it felt like that was like a one-time thing, but clearly
yeah,
it was not because then Nightcrawler goes in, and I don't know. I feel like if I were Beast, I would have been like, well, let me go in too, see what I can
yeah. Just
get. Like,
keep the
yeah.
lineup going. Everyone gets a turn. Everyone misses one day of their lives, and
Yeah.
just like till we run out of 8 billion people. It's a great system, actually.
Um,
Yeah.
and like X Factor, I really did like. I loved episode 2. That still was my favorite of the season because it felt like such an X-Men story. We were Jubilee and Sunspot had both evolved from where they were in season 1, and I was really looking forward to getting more of X Factor, but we didn't get enough of them for this at the end here. They kind of were just like, I mean, we got Val Cooper where she'd like call Xavier and be mad at him. And honestly, with this season being over, I'm surprised we even got those beats because that feels like something they would have just pushed to the side. So at the very least, it was like, oh, Val Cooper doesn't like this. But with that post-credit scene, I was a little pissed. I was like, she
Yeah.
hasn't been Mystique the whole time?
This is actually supposed to have been Val Cooper the whole time, and it's like that actually makes it worse because she's completely politically incoherent then. Like,
Yes.
what has been her plan? Like, when it was like, I don't understand what she's trying to do, I was like, well, but I don't know what Mystique's plan is, but it's like, wait, like that's supposed to be our Val. Like, I can't tell. Is it Catherine Disher doing Mystique now? Is it?
Oh, no. I don't think so.
Oh, well, that's a shame. Well, I don't know who it is, but
um,
well,
I was surprised at how brutal it was killing Val Cooper.
that's mean.
I was like, oof. But yeah, so Cable, they tried to touch upon, and I like the idea of the mom and dad fighting their son, but it felt like we would remind the audience that these are a mother, father, and son, but then like we're not saying anything or doing anything with that other than
Yeah.
like, oh, they're fighting. I wish the fight had been cooler because it starts pretty early on in the episode. Rogue's gotten her celestial shit. And it felt like if we're building to an apocalypse battle, this is actually the battle of the episode. Apocalypse just stands there, turns them all into horsemen for like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
and then Rogue touches him. And so I'm curious what they were trying to do. I mean, we said this, Anthony, in the recording you were on for before too. Like, what are they trying to say here? And I was
Mhm.
a little bit more forgiving with the Nightcrawler episode because we ended on, oh, Nightcrawler realizes Graydon Creed's a piece of shit. Maybe that's what it was.
Mhm.
Nightcrawler learning not all people are worthy of forgiveness. But I don't know, like, what. I don't know, because the X factor of it all really throws off whatever they were trying to say, but I don't think they were trying to say anything.
Yeah, there's no stake is kind of the problem. Like the X-Men have decided Gambit has to die now, or Cable has decided Gambit has to die now, and it's like, why? Like there's nothing urgent happening here. Like there's nothing like there
Right.
it
Like,
Apocalypse didn't even seem like he was about to die. He just sort of brought Gambit back. He looked fine when he did it. Like we didn't have a sense like because they didn't want to spoil the twist that he was now in Gambit. So it looks like he
right.
just like got killed by his own horsemen. But that means that like there's no clock running. So it's like, could you like wait a second? Why not see if it sticks or not? Like there's no reason to shoot him when he's at his like Gambit in a coma state, right?
Apocalypse seems stronger in his previous body than he did in
Right.
Gambit. Like, why are we picking Gambit of all the
Mhm,
X-Men?
mhm.
Feels like if we're picking X-Men to put our brains into because they're powerful, Jean Grey or Storm would be the likely choice.
To
Or
put a
like,
plot that is the actual plot here that they're adapting from the 90s, which is that Cable is the perfect. That's why Apocalypse wanted him in the first place, right? He's the child of the Phoenix. He is the most powerful Omega level mutant on Earth. And the only reason that isn't always manifest is because he's using his psionics at all times to keep the virus at bay, right?
right,
Like,
right, right.
which is why Strife, his clone that doesn't have the virus, is so valuable. Apocalypse is raising Strife from infancy to be his vessel. As soon as he's like of age, Apocalypse is going to download into that kid. That's a fun story that this didn't do.
And
Um,
it's funny because they touched on it the first episode with
Yes.
mini Cyclops with young Cable, and it's like to your point. if that would have been a roundabout way
Yeah,
of I'm still trying to get into your son. So
exactly.
I'm just using what I have access to right now, which at the moment is Gambit. And on that same note, I mean, I know that they ended up going, they ended up finding out that Apocalypse was dead and Gambit had risen. But like I feel like it would have been a more interesting story if randomly Gambit would have came
Yeah.
back and it would have been like, what is happening, but I don't care. I'm not going to question it because it's and then it would have been able to have this plot
Hmm.
in the background of us even knowing a bit, okay, that's definitely not Gambit, but them not like there were so many different ways to do this. But just to your point of it's crazy how those seeds were planted literally episode 1 and could have been the perfect storyline to keep this all connected
Yeah.
throughout the season, even as we're, moving around through different teams. It could have been the main thing of we know that the real goal here is that Apocalypse is trying to put his mind in Cable by
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
means necessary. And now he's traveled across time to do it. And they just let that shit go basically after episode 1. And
And the
I
nice
don't know
thing
why.
about it is it also would have not just provided a plot through line, but it would have provided a thematic through line where it's like, because if we're setting up Apocalypse as kind of the child of Xavier and Magneto, this person who they've sort of made the question of like what are the stakes of mutantdom? The earliest moment of mutant kind, Xavier and Magneto were there and they influenced this guy and he decided actually it's about survival of the fittest. Whereas if the child of Jean and Cyclops was intervened with in his childhood and it became a question of like mercy versus sort of again survival at all costs, then when you bring those two plots together by saying Apocalypse is now taking Cable as his vessel, then it becomes a question of like, is it survival at all costs, or is there a value to mercy? Is there a value to love? And then the decision means something. Whereas if it's just Gambit just popped back up and Rogue just wants her Gambit back and is willing to do whatever, and incidentally Nightcrawler will give his life for it, it's
It
like
really is
sounds
incidentally.
it sounds like actually then this turns out to have been Nightcrawler's story the whole time, and I just didn't know that because they didn't know that. So it's like, I need that to be more centered, or you need to shift the ballast over to Cable. But as it stands, they sort of fall between the two stools, and it's like this wasn't about anything at all, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that is what bothers me the most. I So when they're fighting, I did think it's wild. I don't know if both of you saw when they did that trailer that was like the roll call trailer. Siren is in that trailer and they give her a title card and it's like
Hmm.
Siren. She doesn't even have any lines here. She
No, she
shows up
screams.
and Polaris says her name.
Yeah, as she's getting hit so that we know that's Siren. Yeah.
She did like as much as Siren did in is it X yeah, X2 that she's in where she's a kid and she's just screaming. I was like,
I'd even argue they gave her an even more important role in X2 because at least she woke everybody up.
true,
Like, you
true.
motherfuckers knew to get the hell up and start walking through, running through walls and shit. Like, she did her part. I don't know what the hell she was there for this.
And like one of my friends had been texting me like, "Oh, I think it's going to be really cool when like Siren shows up on the team and she finds out that Val Cooper was in cahoots with what happened on Genosha and her father was killed because of Val Cooper." And I was like, that would be cool, but I don't know that they're going to do that. And they weren't
Nope.
touching that at all. Like,
No.
didn't matter. Um, and I think the fight, I did like the fights. I will say, I need to say something positive. I know you don't, Anthony, but I enjoy the like, oh, the teams have to fight. Executioner's song was like my big,
Me
you mentioned
too.
Strife. That was my big thing. But that's like, I think of the issue of X Force fighting the X Men and Psylocke putting her psychic knife through Siren's head. Because as a kid, I did not understand. I thought she killed her. And I was like, oh, she just killed one of them. That's wild. Like, blew my mind that they were killing people. She was not dead. But I remember loving that shit. And so that's what I was thinking of here. But again, it felt like it didn't matter. And we get the Bishop says to Polaris, like, oh, how do you feel, fighting your old team? And she's like, I've always been an X-Man. And I'm like, that is a nice sentiment, but I would like a little bit more on this. Like, I just would have
Hmm.
liked, she should have had to fight Havoc. And we should have had to be like, oh, this is her ex-boyfriend. Because also
Yeah.
we never established if they were dating.
The old cartoon did, right? Because
Okay,
the old
yes.
they really only appear in that one Iceman episode where Iceman is like, Polaris is missing, the love of my life is gone. Where is she?
Right.
And then he finds she's working for X Factor and also is dating Havoc now. And he's like, wow, this sucks. I guess I'll go be homosexual for 20 years. But like that was the
As
only
one should,
as
you
one
know.
Yeah.
does, yeah.
That's what happened to Anthony and I.
Yeah, so they are dating, but could you tell from this? Probably not. Which is weird because like they are, I don't think they belong together, but they are sort of one of the 90s big
Yeah, big
X-Men
couples.
couples, right?
Yeah.
So I mean more than the 90s, like they've been together since their origin, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, it's just like it feels like the episode quickly realized it didn't have time for any of the emotional stakes here, so it just skips them and it's like, well then you're just banging action figures together. Psylocke versus Wolverine doesn't mean anything because I actually don't know anything about this version of Psylocke. She seems to be British, so she must be Betsy. How
Mhm.
did that happen? We don't find out. Like, I can see having, like, even in Executioner Song, which you mentioned, like, Rain versus Feral was interesting because they were basically the same design, and it seemed interesting to sort of fight these two against each other. Whereas here, it's like, Strong Guy versus Bishop was interesting, right? Like same
Yeah.
power set basically, but
And them drawing attention to those are strong guy's powers, which I always forget. When Bishop is like, oh, neither one of us is gonna hurt the other. Like we know that we can go blow for blow. And yeah, I constantly forget strong guy is not just like a really strong dude. Isn't it
mm,
like he was hit by a bus and that's why his body's so big? Isn't that the
he
thing that turned him
he
big?
absorbed unlike so Bishop releases kinetic energy as
Mhm.
energy. Strong Guy stores kinetic energy as strength, which means if you hit him too much, he just gets too big and it becomes painful. And there was a plot in the 90s that eventually his heart would just give out. Um, So actually, you could just kill him by hitting him too much, but that is not explored here.
But I meant,
So,
isn't the origin of why he got big? Isn't that in the comics? Like he was hit by a bus, and that
oh, that I don't
impact made his like.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember that. Maybe it's interesting because like Multiple Man is also sort of Multiple Man absorbs kinetic energy and turns it into a copy, right? So it's like there's like a weird way they're all kind of batteries on the team. Um,
And man, Multiple Man gets such a good arc in the comics, like when he has the legacy virus and like he's all like
mm,
broody in his room, and then him when he forms the like who I forget who's the writer that did the X Factor, the like newer
Peter
one,
David.
Peter David. That was such a good run, and it made Multiple Man an even better character. And it was a
Not
bummer
great for
that
the ladies, but those women suffered under Peter David. But
um
um,
I mean I didn't finish the run, but I liked where I
oh,
was.
yeah, I can tell because
Uh, but I like I don't know. I wanted a little bit if we're gonna show all these characters, don't do what the Fox movies did, where it's just like, yeah, those characters are just standing there. They're just cannon fodder. They're not
Mhm.
doing anything. And with the students, that made a little bit more sense, right? Because they are supposed to be the kids. They're supposed to just represent like, oh, it's a group of like young mutants that are at the school. Sure, I'm more okay with that than like us having like Rain. I don't think had a line the whole season.
I don't understand why Jubilee's antagonist is Havoc. It feels honestly like maybe there was a draft of this where it's Cable that she's fighting because like all the dialogue about being an old man, it's like Havoc is like 25 at most. Like
It also
he's
would have
not
made more
old.
sense since Cable literally went and suck out
Yeah,
Jubilee. So it's like, that would have been more of a,
it would have
obviously I would
thematically
rather
succeeded.
Cable fight his parents, but I'm just like, it would have made more sense that like the beginning of his battle would have been against Jubilee as what essentially was like a mentor. Like not really, I don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
be that
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that, but like basically at that point, she thought all the other X-Men were gone. So like in
Yeah,
terms of an older figure who knew what he was doing in her life, that would have been him. Um, and then, here we are full circle of them going at it, and now you're up against your parents once you make it inside. That would have made more sense. But then I
Mm.
guess then they realized like, oh, that we won't have Havoc do anything all episode. We'll just have him outside while his fucking brother is inside. I guess there's just nothing that you could do with that story, even though it's been done before. But anyways, yeah, I'm doing my best to find something nice here. I'm doing my best.
I
But I
so
really
the line I just like pulled up the episode so I could see the line. The line Wolverine delivers to Psylocke is from contract killer to government stooge. they offer you a pension plan?
Mhm.
So I remember Psylocke had that one episode in that
With
really
Warren,
long
she's like an
arc.
assassin for hire. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But wasn't she just, I thought she was like, is she there to kill him, or I thought she was there to steal shit. I thought she was like a thief. Whatever.
They're both trying to get like apocalypse relics. Is that what that
Yeah.
story was? I don't
Hmm.
know. It's just like
Um,
I am not tracking her emotionally. Is she only involved because Warren is involved and they're together? Like it's very Wolverine's question is good. The question of like, why are you here is one I would like her to hear her answer, you know? Like
so can we pause and like have her
yeah.
answer?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I really, her and like Archangel makes sense, right? Because he hates
Sure.
Apocalypse. Apocalypse turned him into what he is now. So sure, but yeah, you're right. I think if they had even just made it so like they are a couple, because I don't, doesn't seem like
They
they
seem
seem
to
like a
be,
duo,
yeah.
but it doesn't seem to
Yeah.
be like anything. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like if we had at least been like, oh, she's here because of Warren. That is,
Yeah.
the love of her life. They've been together since we saw them 500 years ago in the original series, sure. But yeah, a
But then
lot
the
of,
person she should be fighting is Morph, because then it's the two characters who are really only here because the person they're in love with is invested, right? Whereas like Wolverine and Archangel have things to say to each other because they were both experimented on and turned into a metal monster, right? Like those two have dialogue, and Morph and Psylocke have dialogue is interesting to me. Like they're both just like the plus ones of a person who has like personal beef here,
the
right?
plus ones.
You know, like
Well, and also, so back on Jubilee and Havoc, which was a little goofy for me, him, it felt like we were making him Val Cooper's stooge. Like it didn't,
mhm,
and then suddenly this episode, he says something in the beginning
mhm.
to her, and then he's like proud of Jubilee. And I'm like, that doesn't like,
You never had a scene together.
yeah, like she
Yeah.
called him knockoff Cyclops, and that was the extent of their dialogue in episode 2. And so, like, what is it that he's like, oh, I like her? Like, we needed again, that could have been established that maybe he
Right. And
sees himself in
knockoffs
her.
knockoff Cyclops means that it's kind of common knowledge that this is Cyclops' brother, which really does mean he and Cable need a scene together, right? Like,
And I'm
I
just
don't know.
going over it. I'm like, her interaction with Havoc was literally getting kidnapped from Cable's team. And they literally had that, like, what, one scene of her being
Uh-huh.
interrogated, which more so seemed to be serving the bridge between her and
Yeah, Polaris.
Polaris.
Yeah,
She got locked up. Polaris went into X-Men mode. So your only interaction with this girl has basically been trying to get information from her and then getting your ass kind of handed to you by her. Why are we acting like this is some come to Jesus moment between the two
Mhm.
of you of like, oh, she's come a long way. Like, what are we
and
doing here?
and
And
if we're
why
gonna
is it
have
an
that,
airplane fight? Like neither of
yes,
them,
none of
neither of
them
them are
fly.
airplane people. Like it's like these
Was
two mid-level, like they each took one course in avionics and are just like, I guess this is what we're doing.
Like
Like,
Beast, we normally see pilot the jet. So if Beast were in the jet, it'd be like, okay, well, he flies, well, flies the
sure.
jet. So sure, but like Jubilee was a really weird choice. I love that we're giving her respect and leveling her up. I do appreciate that, but even I was like, it was a little like,
Mm.
it honestly,
Also,
in that same regard, just felt like, oh, we need her to do something because like we
yeah,
don't like it when she gets called useless, which I don't like
yeah,
it either.
yeah,
But like it just felt like more of a we got to make sure we have some one scene that shows that she can contribute to the
yeah.
team, and
yeah.
they didn't know where else to put her.
Also, we
Because
have had two seasons without Beast having anything to do. Like,
right, you
it's
have Beast.
interesting because like they keep pulling on the plot of like Beast did have that one episode where he became like friends with Ship, right? And like Ship died and he cried about it, right? And that's why they know where our ship crashed in this episode, right? And that is an example of like, well, love beats survival, right? Like Ship is kind of a better person because of her interaction with Beast, which leads to the whole thing where like she's now the computer inside Cable, and like that would have been it was actually a moment of kindness from Beast that made this kind of redemption of the celestial tech possible at all, but it just blows on past, right? And like poor Hank McCoy, a character I almost have no sympathy with in the comics anymore, but who is actually quite lovable on the cartoon,
Yes.
has kind of just not had a single plot except having that crush on Trish Tilby in season 1.
And then
There's
that
a
went
few
nowhere.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
bad again. Like I
I
don't like trashing. It's just
I
like
I
I was gonna
mean,
say, should we all go around and say like, I don't know, what was something good? Should we
well,
try and
that's why I keep saying the fights look cool because I do think they look cool. I love like X-Men fighting. I do I kind of liked the Cable versus his parents, but I also didn't quite understand what he did. Like he exploded the floor and I was like, is the building gonna collapse? Because that feels like some of them would die. But then it kind of collapses, but not really.
Mhm.
Also, who is living in that building? Is it just like the six X-Men?
It's just them on the roof. It
yeah.
sounds like
Everyone
they're
has
like
like
living
three
in ruins.
floors?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
You just like
You know, that was
exposed pipe.
Professor X just had to flex real quick.
Yeah,
Let me let
yeah,
y'all know I can just buy
yeah.
a random building and
this is how
Jet
rich I
fuel
am.
can't melt steel beams. They're all fine until they're not.
that's how you know this is in 97. You can fucking buy a building.
Yeah.
God. But Anthony, can you explain what he does? Because I'm
No.
genuinely not.
I
Okay.
do think it was like he's supposed to have leveled the building and then they realized like that's too much and like we don't have time to animate everyone escaping. It's like when Storm blows up all the Sentinels, then we take a moment to watch everyone parachute to safety. The thing that they always used to have to do on G.I. Joe, where every time
Yes.
that anything exploded, you had to shoot one person parachuting out so we knew everyone was okay. Every single time. It's very funny.
Also, you know, even that they had humans and Sentinels, and I just can't wrap my mind around X Factor or X Force.
Being like, let's not do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can
those
we?
are
Yeah.
machines made to
Literally
exterminate
hunt
you.
you. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're
Yeah.
just like, they're on our side. Like, you know, it's
And if it had been Mystique the whole time, it would have been, well, the ends justify the means. We're saying something about like you co-opt power. Like Mystique will use whatever power is available. She believes she can use it and turn it against itself, right? Like
Yeah.
and that is like an interesting pylon of minority politics that the show, she's kind of the inverse of Charles Xavier, right? Like Charles Xavier is like, full Mattachine society. Like, look, we're just like you. Look at me in my suit. I'm so respectable. Let us in the door. Let us have a seat at the table. Whereas Magneto's like, fuck your table. I'm flipping this whole thing over. And Mystique is like, let me at the table so that I can flip the table over better, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of Mystique's
Let me have the table, but fuck
motivation.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, please can I have some Sentinels? Oopsie daisy, now they kill humans. Like, that would be a Mystique plan.
100%.
Whereas
Yeah.
that's like, oh, it wasn't her. So it's just Val Cooper is just like, the woman who said Magneto was right is like, you know what I need? Some Sentinels. And it's like, what? Like, why?
And
Why was this your
I
scheme?
I said this earlier. There is a thing about like American politicians that tracks with her politics, where it's like she saw the thing was wrong, she said
Mhm.
it was wrong, and then still does the thing,
The thing we
thinking,
need is body cams, right? Like
yes,
that's Val Cooper's
yeah,
politic, right? Like the police are bad. What if we had body cams so we could see they weren't being bad? Like she just
yes.
doesn't get it, right? She's just like full Hillary Clinton, right? That's
Because
her. Like
I do think she thinks she's on the like when she says to Charles, "I'm on the mutant side." I don't think she thinks she's lying. Like I think in her mind she is telling the truth. That is not the
and
truth, but I think she thinks she is.
And so if there was an urgency, if like Apocalypse was about to do something, and
Yes.
like Val Cooper would be like, the simplest way to solve this, sorry everybody, we got to shoot that guy you like in the head, right? Like if there was anything happening, an asteroid, a bomb, anything that made it like needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Love you to death, Charles. Not
Yeah,
really, but
but
whatever. I gotta kill
yeah.
your friend. Sorry, Rogue. But that's not the case at all. Charles Xavier is just like, how dare you make me side with Charles Xavier, who's like, can I just have a second this is literally the only thing I'm good at is separating people's brains. Let me work on this for 1 minute. And everyone's like, actually, your building is going down now. I brought 20 Sentinels. It's like, no, come on.
And do we think we're now done with X Corp after this?
The
It's
problem is like, what are these plots for? Like, it felt like you put a bunch of stuff on the board that you didn't have any plan for. So it's like if Rogue's gem didn't matter, does X-Force matter? Like, I feel like the place I felt like I said this last episode is like the place that's the last episode I was on is like it feels like you're building towards a Krakoa moment. It feels
Yes.
like you're saying like they've not really done a Krakoa the Living Island on this show, but like if you turned Genosha into the new mutant state and it's like we're all back, we have this technology and it's built on the ruins of Genosha, then I feel like I understand. Like if you jumped 6 months in season three and we were on New Genosha and it was clearly Krakoa and Charles Xavier's walking around in his hat and Magneto's back and Exodus is back. It's like, okay, that's a fun place to be now. But like, what are any of these plots for? I don't think they know, right? And that's like, I feel bad being this negative, but like, the voice actors are working so hard, the animators are working so hard, the writing is just, it's not even that it's bad, really. It's that it's like not a finished thing. It's just like
Yes.
notes towards, it's like you threw, it looks like you tried to build a car out of parts of another car. And
It
it's like,
literally, it feels like they literally put a different team on every episode, said everybody go do your thing,
mhm,
and then we'll put it together at we'll put it all together in the end. And like the only part of the episode, only part of the season that feels like it was made by, if not the same people, at least people who were all on the same page about the story they wanted to tell. Like I've said before, it just feels like that first half. And then after that, it literally feels like it literally feels like, unfortunately, because my mind is going into school mode, like I always have a part of my class where I put people in groups and they do, like, we're all on the same lesson, but they
mhm,
each have their own thing to do, and then at the end of the class, like, they'll show what they've done.
an
And like
exquisite
that's literally what
corpse.
the like the second half of the season feels like. Everyone went off, did their own thing, and like we're now seeing each group present their project in front of the class that
I almost I almost think it feels like for the last half, they were like, well, we cut out all the stuff we don't want to do from Bo's
Mhm,
original scripts.
yeah.
You just write the parts to fill in the blanks that we cut out. You don't even need
Mhm,
to read the other stuff. Just like fill in the blanks where we've deleted things. I marked it in the script. You just fill in with dialogue or an action scene and keep moving, and it doesn't matter. And like you said, Ashley, it was like a different person doing each one because the only it's wild that the only like constant throughout the season, I guess, would be Apocalypse and Val Cooper. But again, Anthony, like you keep saying, neither one of them seem to have a direct
yeah.
plan of what they
Yeah.
were doing. Just like them being there was the constant. We had a bunch of calls with Xavier and Val where she'd be annoyed at him, but that didn't feel like the plot. That just felt like she is a side character who
Yeah.
works for the government and is annoyed at the mutants. Like it didn't feel like we were leading up to this as
Yeah.
much. And I almost think this could have worked better if we did have a huge apocalypse battle and X Factor joined and helped them. And like Val Cooper is like mad that they have to join forces with them, but she's like, yeah, we got to defeat Apocalypse together. That might have been better.
I would have ate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
like
would have even taken a little what like versus each other for them to in the end be like, oh my God, we got to take this man down. And instead of a Cable shooting Gambit moment, I would have preferred a Cable realizes, no, this isn't the way. And here
yes.
comes Apocalypse revealing that, oh shit, we didn't get our actual Gambit back. It really was him the entire time. And everyone having to like, it gives, well, see, I was going to say it gives Disney, but at the end of the day, I guess so. But like, at least I would have preferred that. I'm realizing we really didn't get a moment of them having to team up, even if they hated each other's guts when it was over.
Yeah.
Like that would have been
You know
better
what I'm
than Rogue's 5 second, you know,
mhm.
Sailor Moon Girl moment. Just to see now I'm upset. Now I know I'm upset. I just call her Sailor Moon Girl. Like they're gonna come for me in my thing.
No
But
hate on
like,
Sailor Moon, everybody. Like one of my
yes.
favorite things on earth.
listen, I love Sailor Moon, but I would never refer to her as Sailor Moon Girl. But like,
Right.
instead of like that 5 second touch moment with Apocalypse, I would have preferred X Factor, X Force, X Men. To me, my X Men moment. Like, it would have been cheesy as fuck, but like, damn, at least it would have brought us all together of these episodes that were exploring these different teams, and it all led to this buildup of them having to take down who was supposed to be the big bad of the season. Like, at least then it
Mhm.
would have felt like, all right, cool, I
And
see.
so and we could have even had them all there because Apocalypse turns them all into horsemen very quickly, so it
For
doesn't
5 seconds.
matter. Yeah, and like I also just didn't understand what we were doing there because it's like 5 seconds and he doesn't turn Xavier, and it felt like, well, shouldn't we turn everybody? Like
Yeah.
Xavier's a pretty powerful
I
teleport.
liked the beat of like Apocalypse has waited millennia to
Yes.
teach Charles Xavier, look what loving people costs. And that sounds interesting to me, and that sounds like something useful around which I'm thinking about this in real time here, but one of the things I hear through the grapevine, through the rumor mill of online, is that one of the things they hated about Bo DeMaio's concept was that it was going to be an Age of Apocalypse thing.
Yes. Mhm.
And that Marvel or Disney or whatever is like, people are sick of alternate realities, of multiple universes. We're not doing multiverses anymore. So they cut it.
Yep.
And there's a moment 2/3 of the way through this episode where they're begging Cable not to shoot. And he shoots anyway, and he shoots Gambit in the head. But I think it's notable in the framing that Xavier is right behind him. And I wonder if that was supposed to be the moment that Cable kills Xavier, and then
Mm.
we are now in an Age of Apocalypse timeline where without Xavier, the world unravels, and they're all trying to get back to this. Because it's the same moment that's in Messiah Complex where Bishop
Yes.
kills,
You're right,
where
it is. Yeah.
it's the same architectural, like it feels like you took those two moments and spliced them together for a moment where Xavier gets capped in the head. And then you could do an Age of Apocalypse. Like maybe there was supposed to be a jump there where everything changed or something. It would have required a time travel plot that never ended up happening in this season either, right? Like,
Right. Yes. So what I have heard that I'm pretty sure is true is that he wanted to do Onslaught and then
mhm.
have Age of Apocalypse be season 3, and they very much turned it down. But that's why I don't know if y'all remember earlier in the season, everyone was like, "Oh, clearly they're leading towards Onslaught," and I like knew they
I mean,
weren't.
Magneto's death. I thought that they were going to spin the
Right.
Onslaught's origin story, and instead of a fight, it was going to be that they ended up merging because,
That moment with Apocalypse where
Yeah,
they go out of their way to show the crack in the Magneto
I
helmet, right?
definitely thought like,
and he's
oh
in his
shit, I thought that was going
eye.
to be it. I thought
Yeah.
that was going to be it, and instead we got what we got, child.
Yeah,
The
and
South
like
in me is coming out. Sorry, I'm
And
annoyed.
like, Apocalypse, Onslaught, sure, I can see where they're like, they have similar, just like big power presence that like, and are very, as you said, Anthony, very 90s.
I
Apocalypse
love
is
Onslaught. It's one of my favorite things ever. I love Strife too. And they threw out my two favorite ideas from the 90s. They never showed up.
but also all of them as horsemen is kind of fun. Like maybe that's when we have X Factor have to be like, oh, now we're gonna have to fight with Xavier because like
Mm.
we'll fight alongside him or something. Because why aren't they there? And then what is it like? 2 beats later, in flies Rogue, and we're fine.
Yeah, she's just the Celestial is like actually this 5,000-year-old plan that I've set in motion. What if not for some reason? Because this lady yelled at me, and then like a blue guy shows up. He's like, "Wait, maybe you're right too." And it's like, kind of seems like God doesn't know what he's doing here.
Yes.
Actually, like,
But like, wouldn't there be a version of Apocalypse that's still alive here?
in which, in the sense of
Because this
like,
one is from the past.
this is the one he says in
Oh
episode 3, he's
yeah.
like, I'm gonna go back to when the X-Men are most vulnerable, 1997. And he like his coffin like teleported to
Yeah.
1997. Because he is dead in our present age
Okay.
because of the end of season 4, maybe? Like he's not around for season
Oh,
5
he
of the
did
show.
die in the
There
Yeah,
cartoon.
we
he
go.
gets
Okay.
unmade in the make
Oh,
the
okay.
time
I'm
thing.
not going back to that because this pissed me off, but I believe you. I'm sorry. Listen,
No,
when we're
it's
done here, I'm gonna go watch X-Men Evolution. I need a palate cleanser. This
mm.
is that deep.
I was trying to watch Wolverine and the X-Men
No.
after, and I was like,
I
oh,
I
this
like
has
it.
more. It has more of the movie stuff. Like Rogue is like a sullen teen in it, where I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. Kind of forgot this part
I
was
don't
a
mind
thing.
it. I don't think it's bad. I just like it's a whole lot
I
of Wolverine. I like it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
same.
enjoy the animated shows because it's supposed to be our break from what the movies have done, which is
Uh-huh.
center so much on Wolverine. And so it's like I need to remember that Storm can do more than create lightning because y'all
Well,
don't seem to
the
ever
only
let her do
reason
anything else.
Evolution doesn't quite land for me because everyone just looks very uniform. And I feel like they all look too similar. Where when they're not in their uniforms, I'm like, I'm not sure which character this is. I
It's
think it's
nice that Nightcrawler is not just like a religious weirdo in it, though. He's just actually like a fun, like foreign exchange student.
so okay. Let's talk about the Nightcrawler of it all. I did like his speech. I did like it. I started to tear up when he's like talking about it. And I really do. I think, and I'm the same as you with religion, Anthony, but I really do like this Nightcrawler. And I think Adrian Hough, who's a voice actor for him, is really, really, really good as
Excellent.
Nightcrawler and the like emotion he conveys that could be ham-fisted in like the Nightcrawler accent is good. And that is not his accent. That man, he's also the voice of Strong Guy. Like,
Oh,
yeah, I think he does a really good job. And he goes into that really easily. I met him. We hung out at a con once, and he would just go into Nightcrawler's voice randomly, and I would be like, "Holy shit, that's so
Yeah,
weird."
no, he did the same to me when I met Alison Seeley Smith for when I was in my Storm costume for New York Comic Con last year. And I didn't even know it was I was literally walking around because her photo they were letting people do selfies, but it ended. And I kind
Okay.
of had gotten into my Ashley mode of like, I'm gonna find you and we're gonna take this picture. Which is literally what happened. But yeah, I found him first because he saw my costume and he like immediately went into character. I was like, hey man, they're not paying you enough. You're not who I'm here for, respectfully, but like
Right.
you're not paying you enough. Like you're great with
Him
it.
and Lenore Zahn love just like going into the voice, and they both are good at it. But so I
like I said,
did.
the cast is amazing. Like I'm not,
They
I
They
did
really
feel
are.
listen.
bad
Even when I
being,
wasn't following along, I'll listen to y'all all day. Nobody
yeah,
dropped the
yeah.
ball when it came down to voice acting, which is to really say something in terms of this age of animation where I feel like voice acting has like, this is not to be all this is why anime is but like anime voice acting, like they don't play about that shit at all. And then it's like you go to more Western and it's like, oh, we just hired multi-million-dollar Hollywood actor who we see in everything to
Uh-huh.
fucking play Mario. And so so it's like been but they've even with what they've been given to work with, while I would critique that, they're doing a great job with what they're being given to work with.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I was curious what you all because I liked the speech. I just wish it wasn't like then roll the credits. Like I wish we had had a beat. We should have. We got the like Rogue looks at Beast and he gives her a sad look. That's it. We should have had something. We don't need a whole funeral scene like we got for Gambit, but something of like grief. And the show did that so well in season one with the grief. It did that so well, showing Rogue furious. She has just gotten back the love of her life and then lost her like
Brother.
second support. So the like second in line of her support system. It's like she had to trade one for the other. She couldn't get both at the same
Keep in mind
time.
when we lost Gambit, I remember that episode because I, being me, I was like, I'm gonna watch. Everybody else was watching the new episodes when they dropped at fucking 2 a.m. And I was like, I'm gonna get through work and reward myself for getting through work by watching X-Men. And I remember people being in tears and me being like, y'all are so dramatic. And that episode ended with Rogue being like, I can't off screen,
Yes.
dark fucking screen, I can't feel you.
Ugh,
Mhm.
And I
it
remember
killed
being
me.
fucking destroyed. Um, and so, to basically have still the equivalent of that, because that is how much Nightcrawler is supposed to mean to her. And
Yeah.
instead, we get the speech and no real reaction to that because they ended on his speech. It was extremely disappointing.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think that's the sort of, to me, the fatal problem with this season has been there is such an emotional core to season one. There is such a through line of, um, even as it's thinking so coherently and not simply, like it is a very busy season one, but at every moment it is thinking about what are the stakes and what does
Yeah.
it cost for us to coexist? Can coexistence be possible? And you have like Magneto saying no and Bastion saying no and Xavier saying yes, right? And those are the stakes of that season. And we triangulate everyone's position through those things. And like Rogue losing the love of her life ends up meaning a lot. Whereas here it's like, I don't know what Nightcrawler's death means. It seems like he kind of meets God and doesn't really have a ton to say to him. Um, I'm not convinced by a speech. I'm tired of characters who are Catholic just going rattling on about faith. And it's like faith doesn't just mean you believe whatever you want and like you just hope that like the thing you want is going to happen. That's not how it works, right? And it's like it feels like at the end of the season, everyone's like, "Oh, this was the Nightcrawler story the whole time, and we didn't notice." And it's like, okay, well, I don't know. I also don't like that it's like for the sake of this heterosexual couple, this priest character just like kills himself, and it's like that's that. Like I don't know what that means. Like it just has nothing.
It would
But
have been
it's
more impactful if we would have had Rogue about to die.
Yes. Yes, I think that would have made
And,
more sense. Yeah.
you know, instead of this off-screen death and the speech, it would have been Nightcrawler even using his powers to switch with her at the last minute before she can really do anything or something like that. And doing
And
the whole take me instead or something like that.
I guess that's kind of what they did because it's like she will die. What is it? She will die if she
why?
doesn't. Yeah, I didn't quite.
Why is she dying? Apocalypse didn't die. This guy is not. It seems like he's just giving her. It sounds like what he says at first is like, you will be changed by this, which like Apocalypse was changed by it. He becomes like crazier. Like he's more powerful, but he's sort of like his literal voice changes, right? Like there's a change. Rogue just gets a nice suit, and it sounds like she thinks she's going to die, but I'm not clear why that is. Like there was a price, but was it going to be that it was death? I don't.
Right. And
Why?
it's he says life for a life. So if he wanted a replacement, I guess that, to your point, Anthony, like that would have made more sense of instead of a death. It's
Yeah,
more like if you're
you're
gonna
my
kill him,
new
I still need
guy.
somebody who's about to be served, the instrument that I had him doing. So this
Exactly.
is gonna be your life now. You can get
Yeah.
Gambit back, but you won't actually get to
Yeah.
be with him because you are serving the role of Apocalypse.
Survival of
Um,
the fittest. Like if you're stronger than him, if you can kill him, you got the job, right? That's how it's supposed to work.
right. That makes sense. It makes sense.
But I guess
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler didn't get a Wonder Woman suit. He just gets evaporated, I guess.
Yes. And it did feel like they were like, look, guys, Gambit's in his crop top again. There you go. There's something fun. Just Gambit also didn't we didn't even get like we didn't even get really like enough emotional beat there with like now he's back. It was just like they hugged and then Nightcrawler's dead and then we're done. Yeah, and the credits rolling were so abrupt to me. I was starting to get a little emotional. I was like starting to tear up and I was like, okay, at least we're ending on, oh, the credits are rolling. What the fuck? Like it feels like they cut it short. The
Like the
beat.
end of Mass Effect has the same feeling actually, where it's like, oh, that's the end. Okay, sorry, I invested 300 hours in these characters, three title cards, and that's the end of that.
But then we get the post-credit scene, which I did like. I was, like you said, Anthony, it is mean. I was surprised.
I was frustrated because it's like, oh, you weren't Mystique the whole time. I
But
just kind of
now
assumed
she
you
will
were, and
be.
now you are, and it's like, okay, but I feel like Val Cooper has lost political coherence, so I can't understand how Mystique is different actually now. Like,
Right, because Mystique, we know Mystique is always only out for herself. She does not care. She like kind of likes her kids. Like
right. Well, she's going to kill one. That's the
I
whole
was gonna
point,
say
right?
barely
She
that. I
is
don't even know if
going
we
to
can
kill Graydon Creed. Yeah.
yeah.
like
I saw someone post this, I think on Blue Sky, that was like, I need them to have a better, like, clear message of what the year is because why was there an election that already Graydon Creed has won 2 episodes later? Like, how much time has passed?
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering that too. Because Brett mentioned that when he was like, but what year is it if there's an election? Like, how early is he running? And then he won.
They said he conceded. They said Kelly
Kelly
conceded, so
conceded,
I
yeah.
guess he could have conceded very early. I don't know. No, but you guys run it out. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. They
Americans are
love
you guys
running
are a
it out.
tight 4 years always, right?
Because
Like
you guys are
American
like a few months, right?
Canada's parliamentary. Like you can trigger an election whenever. Like it just requires a vote of no confidence. So you can be prime minister for a matter of days, or you can be prime
Oh.
minister for years.
Oh.
And then once it happens, like, well, we need a new one, and then you do a very fast, maybe 6 week election, and then it's done.
God,
Like,
Ashley, could you imagine 6 weeks? That would be so nice. Rather than 6 months of it, God, I can't. Does Graydon Creed become? I thought, isn't he killed before he's
she
president?
shoots him before she
Okay,
shoots him on the eve of at one of his rallies.
okay, that's what
And
I
we have
thought that he
we
died
have the
before.
whole Cyclops cannonball undercover as his agents trying to protect him but hating him and sharing a hotel room, which I was very invested as a kid.
I was always into Cannonball and Sunspot. I wanted them to date. I still kind of do.
I
Oh
hear he didn't
yeah,
do
I
anything with
mean
Sunspot this
he
episode.
really
I think
fell
we saw a
out of the whole
transformation.
season.
I
Yeah.
definitely thought he was gonna pull up with the whole Jubilee episode. I'm like, why are you even flying when your boyfriend can
Fly.
Right. Just like
Yeah.
Like, why is anyone
fireball
fucking
from the side.
if my man
Yeah.
don't fucking blow you up with the power of the sun right the fuck now, I'm never speaking to him again. What is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to do that on purpose. Like every time Bishop tried to save Polaris, usually she saved herself. I almost think that was a little bit to like show. Um,
He got nothing to do this season, which
no.
is like his mom did that terrible thing to him. And then it's like, I guess he's just sort of dealing with the trauma off stage. Like he was kind of our POV, right? Like he
Right.
was the way we
Yes.
came into the first season. And then it seems like Jubilee kind of took back her POV from the original show. And now
Yeah.
she's kind of running things for us, which is not bad, but
Yeah.
he's just kind of there now, which a lot of them are
Yeah.
just kind of there now. So,
Yeah. I was going back and forth with this too, because earlier on the season, I was like, I love when the X-Men are a monolith, not just like 5 people on a team. I love when it's like a billion people. By
mhm.
the end, it was like, okay, we have too many people. Like,
I don't mind multiple people if we've been given a story. I'm not saying they got to have a full episode, but there should
Right.
be like I should know. It's like Forge is kind of useless, but I'm like, but that's Storm's man, and we got this
right.
episode in the show where we saw that connection. So when the season literally starts, and he's like, I'm going to the part
Yeah.
where my girl is. You ain't this ain't the debate. At least, but that ties him somewhere. It's like Bishop time travelers. Like, all right, we get these things here.
Yeah.
I don't need an episode touching on it every 2-3 times. But like when we get to a place with someone like but like it's like just using Psylocke for example, like you're there, I love you, I love your powers. Why are
Looks
you there?
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
looks great, but
Outfit is dope. You were literally my favorite when I was a kid because I liked purple, and I'm like I'd never be able to wear that outside. So I'm living through you. But why are you there? Is it just
Mhm.
because they needed a psychic, essentially? Okay. So yeah, it's like stuff like that where it's like I don't even mind that we have this many characters, but I should just be able to know why everyone is, even if it's something as small as that's his girl. And
Yeah.
he ain't going nowhere if his girl is here. So if his girl is fighting, he fighting, even if he can't do as much as Storm can.
Yeah.
That at least pulls you in there. We got at least 3-4 characters in this fight who had no story or real reason to be there. And then you had someone like Havoc where it's like you actually make sense to be here, but we really technically haven't touched on it. So it's like
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm just guessing. Your brother's over there. I would want to be there if my brother was there and my nephew, but
Yeah.
I don't even know
Because
if
he,
you
he
know
just
that's your
doesn't
brother and your
even
nephew.
know if he
So
knows that. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, well,
like I want to meet my
Havoc is
sister-in-law,
adjacent
how
to
she's doing.
many of the plots because he's adjacent to the Polaris plot and he's adjacent to the Summers plot. And
And
yet,
it's never been brought together. So it's
Mhm.
like, I know it makes sense for you to be here. It would be nice if the story would say it. And I feel bad for people who like are just watching this because it's Marvel, as should be allowed. But like, what if this is your first time meeting Havoc? Do you know that his last name is Summers?
Yeah.
Do they touch
And
on it at all?
And if you're not using Val to do a Mystique plot, then Havoc should be the center stage of that. Like Havoc should be in charge of this because then
yes.
you have a Summers on every corner, right? You've got like, please don't kill Gambit. I'm going to kill Gambit. I work for the government and it works makes sense for us to team up to so we can kill Gambit, right? Like then every side of this is kind of triangular. And then Polaris who switches teams is like, okay, now I've got like a matrix around which a story can start to take a shape, but he's just kind of there. And Val is just kind of like Val was radicalized in season one. Where did that go? You know?
Hello? I'm
Yeah.
like, you watched a genocide happen.
She was
Yeah.
You
there. She
had
could have died.
Magneto
Yeah.
tied up, double cheeked up on a fucking Thursday, and
And you
like
let him go. Yeah.
That
next thing
She
I
should
know,
have
you're fucking
switched
partnering with Sentinels. If you don't get out of my face right the
she
fuck
should have
now.
switched sides. She should be standing next to Xavier and Havoc should have inherited her job and then that would have given us something
you're
a
right.
bit spicier.
Even if we kept her as like the government liaison, it could have been Havoc is more the like Boy Scout government shill, and she's more pushing back, but he's not listening to her.
Hmm.
Like then her position there would have made a little bit more sense if okay, fine, she still argues with Xavier, but she's on his side. Would
Mhm.
have made a little bit more. But again, American politicians, this is not unheard of. But yeah, it is weird to have like a twist that everyone was like thinking was happening, but to confirm it hadn't happened yet, and now it is will be happening. And now we have a special interview with a very special guest.
Adrian Hough, the voice of Kurt Wagner's The Nightcrawler.
I mean, if you're gonna go into the voice, then my first question is, how dare you make me cry during that finale?
I have two things I say. I am so sorry, and thank you. It's been. I mean, just what a privilege, because we recorded those lines months ago, and we keep on being brought back to change things when they've changed the animatics.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing that final speech and going, oh, okay, here we go. And I just dive in. I just dive in, and I try to make it as un kind of unrehearsed seeming as possible. Like I don't try and control what the
Yeah.
final feeling is going to be, and that final line, because I have faith. I just remember when I hit that take, I was not trying to control or manipulate my voice. I was just kind of being in character, if you like. So, and for me, it's like musical anyway. So I try and kind of like, I will feel it more than I will try and intellectualize what he sounds like. The
You
intellectual part is the accent and the sort of vocal shape. But as someone pointed out recently, I've been with this character for 30 years, so
you
he's in
have.
there.
And I mean, I said this to you when we had you on for season one. Like, you do such a good job. That accent could be cartoony in other hands slash voice, and you do a really good job, even with when it's an emotional beat. It doesn't ever veer off into like cartoony, goofy accent. And I recently told one of our guests, because they were like, "Oh yeah, Nightcrawler's really good," and I was like, "Yeah, it's wild that he's doing that accent, and it's not. He doesn't have an accent." And they were like, "Wait, what?" And they like
Hmm.
assumed that you had an accent. I was like, "Nope, not at all."
Ah, okay. Well, mwahaha.
So you
My
get
typical plan has worked.
plenty of kudos.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, the other thing is when we first auditioned for the show, and I might have talked about this, it was my first audition for an animated show at all, anytime. But I'd played Germans and such on TV and on stage, and I know I really work at dialects when I have to do them. And one of the specs was we just don't want it to be cartoony. And I'd just done this long, long monologue in a drama documentary about the war, when this German soldiers talking about the soldiers coming over, and like we were so impressed by and to get that particular voice. I had a friend who had a young Berlin friend who was visiting in Toronto at that time, and she said, I can introduce you to, and so he came. Like I went over to her place and met him, and instead of having like the German sort of voice like this, the Arnold idea, which is Austrian anyway, but he had this very soulful, quiet. He was a little bit shy. He wasn't quite sure what I wanted from. And so can you just read these lines? And I don't even think I recorded them. Like, I don't even think I had like a tape deck with me, because that's what we had in those days. It's a little thing where you pressed buttons and a little tape. And
Adrian, you forget I'm in my 40s, so I know.
okay, all right. Yeah, and so he said all the lines, and I just remember that I just felt this. I just wanted to absorb it because it had this wonderful, soulful, earnest quality. And so, like a few months later, it must have been in '94 sometime. This My agent joined forces with a voice agent. A voice agent said, "We need someone who sounds German but not cartoony for this Project X, that mysterious thing." And I didn't know what it was, so I just went
Yeah.
in there, and it was that amazing scene that I auditioned with Wolverine in the chapel, and I just remember it just felt like music coming out of me when I just flowed with that vocal shape and that emotional shape. And at first, I'm probably sure I've told you the story before. Dan Hennessy, who may rest in peace, the voice director, had been sitting there. Like when I got into the studio, he was behind the glass, kind of going, "Yeah, okay, go ahead." Like clearly, he'd heard enough, right? And so I just remember the first take right out of the gate. Everything just came out like it was like music, and it was like the character was playing me in a way. I mean, I don't want to be pretentious about it, but there's just this wonderful kind of flow between, my impulses and the script. And I finished remember, Herr Logan, different eyes. And I looked up and he's intently looking at me through the glass. He's a very passionate guy. And I said, yeah. You want to do it again? Sure. And so I did a second take. And then next thing I'm sitting next to Cal and Lenore and Allison Court and Norm Spencer, may he rest in peace. And turns out I'm in a cartoon animated show which is called X-Men.
And then 30 years later, you're back to that character.
30 years later. I've kept him in my pocket for a little while, for a long time. But,
I probably told you this too last time, but I always think I remember when the X-Files came back and Gillian Anderson said she actually had a lot of trouble going back to Scully. Like she had trouble like capturing what she did as Scully again, because she was like, I'm so different than Scully that I kept doing more me as Scully rather than Scully that I did back then. And so I think about that with y'all, like, but y'all seem to step right back into those shoes or big feet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kudos to the writers of the show, like everybody, from Bo DiMaio to everybody on down the line, and that the voice of the characters is the same, but they, for Nightcrawler, that they've expanded on it. There's much more playfulness and badassery, if I can use that word on this podcast.
Of course.
But the bringing out the swords, and and there's that moment at the end of the episode 7, season 2, where he's had it, and he's like strangling, Graydon Creed with his tail, and it's like, a vain soul clamoring for your 15 minutes of faith, yield, and then he just kind of releases, and he kind of lets go, and then he just bamps out of there because he's realizes he's gone too far. He's outside of his faith and his beliefs and his ethics, But they write that stuff. They write that stuff for us. Oh,
I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk about that episode because I found it very interesting. Nightcrawler is more everyone can be redeemed, blah, blah, blah. And then by the end, like you said, it's like he's about to be like, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Let me teleport out before I do. What do you kind of think of that little bit of an arc of, because I was curious when we got the cut scene or the credit scene of Graydon Creed is now president. I'm like, oh, Nightcrawler would be so mad.
Yeah. Well, what's nice is we do get that arc, and I think it affects, how he appears. Like, I think it allows Gambit to turn him, to in the next episode. And then it also makes him, when he comes out of that, makes him decide that I can only really act on my own beliefs. I can only really do it myself. I can't expect others to follow my advice. And so he takes it into his own hands.
And Adrian, I mean, I kind of feel like I might know the answer to this, but where would Adrian stand in that courtroom? Like, where would you, because I know I would be like, I don't know that I'm going to defend this guy. I understand where you're coming from, but also.
Well, I mean, obviously, like I empathize with Nightcrawler a lot. There's a big part of me which I do tend to forgive and forget, or let go if I can. That if I perceive someone has wronged me, I go, well, there's probably a reason for it. I always think back, and other people will tell me, no, this is a bad person who shouldn't have said that to you or done that. But I there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than I've dreamt of in your philosophy, as Hamlet says. The universe and everything is much bigger and much more wonderful and terrible than we could ever imagine it to be. And so I think that there are higher laws. I don't necessarily believe that I ever have a complete grip on what those higher laws are. There's always I used to say this, there is always a higher law than the one you currently believe in. So if ever I had a map of the universe, this is just the way I think, if ever I have a map of the universe, something in my life will always come along and sort of be outside of that map. And I'll go, oh, okay, well, I guess I have to break apart this map of the universe, this belief system, and then let that in and incorporate it somehow. And there are oppositions to things which are true. Like this is also true to
Right.
that, you know,
More than one thing can be true at the same time.
same
You know,
time. Yeah.
people for I stress that so much when I'm my teaching, when I'm doing comp. I'm like, more than one thing can be true. Something
Yeah.
can be bad for this and good for this. Like I think people forget that sometimes.
Yeah. And as actors, we get that a lot. You know, we go, oh, I know that's my job. And yeah, the job doesn't come because they went another direction.
Yeah.
So then you go, oh, I guess. And your choice then is, am I a terrible actor? Am I just not good enough for this thing? Or just that there was someone else who fit what someone's vision was.
Yeah.
And so I've become very good over the years at letting go of that stuff, those hopes and dreams because other ones are coming and
But I think
surrendering to
I think
others.
you make a good point though, that any creative field, I feel like that is so relatable. I can think about that with my writing, where
Yeah,
it's like, oh, but I wanted to do this thing. And but
yeah,
you're right. There is always like something else. There's gonna be something different.
yeah. I mean, have you ever like cut out a character, a whole chunk of a, yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a fake movie trailer for my fiction book that I wrote that went
Oh, wow.
nowhere. But I rewrote that. I like every time I would be like, okay, see if you can take out one character. You have too many characters here. And I would try to like slowly take out characters till it was just like who was actually important. And that like killed me doing that. I'd be like, well, I don't want to take out this because then I have to get rid of this. But it's
Yeah.
like sometimes if you're too precious about your work as a creative, it can be bad, right?
Yeah, we do that when we're auditioning and taping auditions. It's like you have 5 takes that you've done, or 17 takes if you're being really obsessive, and then you have to kill the babies, right? They're nice babies, and you love this bit of that one, but no, this other take is one you're going to send.
Yeah. Yeah, that is I remember like talking to people about my book that didn't go anywhere and people saying that like this might be too much of like your baby for you to be able to kill your darlings in it. And yeah,
Yeah.
probably true. Yeah. You also do a really good job, and I think I've complimented you on this before. With Night, I am not religious at all. I'm a grumpy atheist, but I love Nightcrawler, and you make me love him more.
Oh,
And I
thank you.
feel like that's a testament to not only the writing but your voice acting, because
Thank you.
Nightcrawler never feels too preachy, even though he will talk in religious terms, even though he will quote the Bible. I feel like you do a really good job of him being subtle about it. It's just in his conversation. He's not trying to like make you believe the thing.
Yeah.
He's just like part of like how he reacts to things and how he talks.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that. Thank you. I mean, I think that that's the way I approach him. That it's very much as an individual rather than as and other people can react and say, well, that he's the moral compass of the thing,
yeah.
and but he's one character inside of a massive universe, right, with all kinds of levels of powers and deities and well, but thank you. Yeah, I try to make it subtle. I try to make it like his emotional truth. This is a character who goes into the underworld and comes back smelling of brimstone and sulfur
Yes.
each time he teleports. And so in my mind, he like for that's his shield, is his solid ethic and his solid belief system and morality. And that he chooses, again, forgiveness. You know.
And I do like when we talked about that episode, someone was saying, like, even though I don't agree with what Nightcrawler's saying, I think it's also showing the importance of having someone with that voice in the room.
Yeah.
And he's different. Like Rogue is I'm kind of more what Rogue would be, where she's like, I don't want to help this guy. But you can see where Nightcrawler is coming from. And I think that's also really important to be able to differentiate. Like, I might not agree, but I do think it's important to have the different voice. And not
Right.
everyone's just not like reciting the same thing. And again,
Yeah.
like you don't make it. Nightcrawler isn't preachy about it. He's just like, I think that's my brother.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and if the show is all Rogue, or if the show is all Nightcrawler or all Apocalypse, it wouldn't be the incredible
Yeah.
series that it is, and the incredible series of comics that it is, and storylines. That the fact that there's all these voices in it is brilliant. I mean, it has really been the privilege and of my life to be a part of this incredible world that's happened. And then back in those days, it was just, we came in, we did a little at the show. Nobody knew, nobody wanted to do it. Like Margaret Resch at Fox Kids, who was the president there, she said, I'm going to do it. And all her bosses said, you can have a season, but then you're fired. Right. And now 30 odd years later, there's something called the Marvel Universe, right? Which is like includes video games and feature films and animated shows and everything. It's
I think X-Men the animated series and Batman the animated series helped kick off like a superhero boom.
Yeah.
What did you think when you first read Nightcrawler's sacrifice at the end?
Well, I thought, well, this is comeuppance for making that terrible joke at that con 2 years ago.
Of that.
I've been thinking about that since I know I was going back on. Oh, Gambit is dead. But like when we were pretending to cry and you're pretending to cry, and I go, Gambit is dead. But Nightcrawler has his own title card. Yeah, that'll teach.
Exactly what I was thinking of, Adrian.
But it was, I thought, what a wonderful, wonderful way to go out. He acts on his highest instinct, his highest thought, his highest belief, and they wrote it so well. And they showed me. I came back to do that part after they'd done that series of tableaus of everyone in the kitchen and and gathering, having picnics, and everyone coupling up and all that kind of stuff. So they timed each of those sections, where I would time each of those sections to what they showed me on the screen. So I was like, oh, this is really beautiful. It's lovely.
It is. I was like, I'm going to yell at Adrian when I have him on the podcast. I can't believe I'm tearing up at the very end. This is rude.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, but Strong Guy is still alive.
I mean, yeah, you should always come back as him. I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Had you ever heard of that character?
Yeah, he has one of my favorite. I remember when they first showed him to me, because he comes in actually this first season. There's a scene with Sunspot and Jubilee. And he comes in carrying this big cart, weapons on top of him.
Yeah.
Better bulk. And I remember they showed him to me, and he's like huge shoulders. And I just remember every big guy that I've ever seen at a gym, they never talk like that. It's always like their voice is lag. So you better bulk up, kid. War is coming. And I threw that at them, and they went, we'll take it.
Thank you for your time. Let everyone know where they can find you online.
I mostly post on Instagram at Real Adrian Hough.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'll talk to you later. All right. Now that we're at the end of favorite scene, I'll go first since I know it'll be hard. I like the fighting. I did like the teams versus each other. I liked seeing Jubilee be badass. We didn't mention it, but I did like when Gambit's card throws in and she only shields herself.
That is pretty funny.
I did like that.
It was comically timed. It was very good. Yeah.
I don't know which type of Gambit we're about to get, but let me tell you something right now.
Right, because if that were Death Gambit, they would be dead. Ashley, what was your favorite scene?
I mean, I've had sneezes last longer than Storm scene, but I'll still put it in there. And I will say the one-liner from Cable, that's when they were like, are you joining us? And Cable was like, I'm trying. Have you met my parents? And then he just come out of here like whipping his ass. Like, that was cute. I wish we could have cute in the sense of like, hey, sure, we're not going to kill you because you're our son, but we will absolutely double team and push you through the ground. Like that was nice. It would have been nice to get maybe a little bit more of that, but that's all I got for you.
Fair. Anthony?
Yeah, I feel like I'm piggybacking, but the Cable versus his parents scene is the only one that means anything. So it's the only one that has any heft to it. It's the only one that has any dialogue worth. Like thinking about. So yeah, that's the one for me too.
Favorite look from this episode? I know we kind of don't have any new ones. I feel
Girl.
like I know.
My least favorite is Apocalypse Gambit, which is the
Yeah.
silliest design I think I've ever seen.
That
Like,
If
fee
we
fi fo fum ass fucking
yeah.
outfit. What the hell are we doing?
Why would
when
you have why would you still have a coat on? A coat
why
over
yes
your thing? Like what?
the
Also, but like, how did you? I don't. How? I need the physics explained. Like, you're using him as a vessel.
Mhm.
He's what? Let's give him 6 feet. Now, what power is allowing you to
Sure.
go
Right.
Megasonic
Right.
Godzilla? How did
when
we
Because
do
they
that?
right.
when they
Well, again,
first
like if we had a moment where it's like here's what Apocalypse needs, here's how it works, right? Like, because Apocalypse transfers vessels in the comics, it's a thing that has since been forgotten, but he does it a lot in the 90s, and we see how it works. Like, we see the shriveled little man of him climb into the mech suit that is the big Apocalypse thing, which is not really how he worked before, but it doesn't matter. Like, there was on Sabanor, and on Sabanor has kind of endured a few times by getting new vessels. But how did it work here? Does he just sort of download into them and then he's the same guy again? Like, or what? Like, yeah,
yeah
messy.
when they showed the overhead shot, I was like, oh, that's a weird angle because I didn't think they made him giant, and then I was like, oh, it's not a weird angle. He's just giant wearing a trench coat. Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Super
Um,
shredder. Yeah.
yeah, I think Rogue would be a close second though, because I really hated that Rogue costume. It just looked like Wonder Woman 84, which I hate.
If it's a
Um,
reference to something, I have no idea what it's a reference
I
to.
was going to ask you, Anthony, because I was like, maybe it is from the comics, and I just because there's a lot of shit.
Maybe.
There's so much X-Men lore that like you and Brett and Dayspring, when you all talk, I'm like, have I ever read an X-Men comic? I don't know.
Listen, I be sitting here like, and this is basically my like creme de la creme. This is what I've read the most of. This in
Mhm.
Spider-Man. I just like, look,
Yeah,
anything
like
that came out before 92 is not my business. I'm so sorry. That's
someone in the YouTube comments was like, has Ian ever read a comic book? And I was like, oh my god, I promise I have. I just sound like I haven't.
I guess I liked when Morph was Dr. Octopus and it was the design of the 90s
90s, yeah.
Spider-Man Dr. Octopus. That was kind of cute. The cartoon
I am
that was
charmed by
also
that.
on at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of nice.
And they
I'm
did
still baffled
crossover.
by Morph's powers.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
can look like someone, but you also seem to have their powers, which makes you the strongest mutant there
yes.
is.
So wait. So I got it was like he can it was clarified somewhere and someone brought it up that like somewhere on like Marvel database, on like the official Marvel one, that it's like his powers are that like fighting wise, he can do all the things, but he doesn't have like if he became Jean Grey, he would not have psychic powers. Like
Okay.
that's why in season one, when he becomes Psylocke, he has the sword and he fights with the sword, not the like
Okay.
TK knife.
Because I was like,
Okay.
imagine him just deciding to power up with Storm. Like, oh my God. Just
Right? It's
get up in the
like
sun. Just move the planets around on a
go to
busy
Storm, go to
Tuesday.
Jean Grey, go to Apocalypse, like and everyone's dead. Sounds
So anyway, it doesn't
yes.
matter. But if he's the Hulk, is he strong as the Hulk? Like what is the I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I liked seeing Siren. That was cute. Seeing her stuff.
I just I don't a cameo for a cameo's sake doesn't mean anything. You know, like seeing being like that, I don't this is a nostalgic show. It is about feeding nostalgia, but it is about feeling the thing again. It's not just like, don't just show me something I know and I have to go like, that's the thing that I know. Like say
Right, and that's
something
what the
with it.
Fox movies did, right? Like,
Exactly, yeah.
and they did it increasingly worse where they weren't even showing you a version of a character you knew. Like, I
No, right.
remember in Last Stand
Like
arguing with a
Psylocke. Like there's
yes,
one.
arguing with a friend over whether that was Psylocke, and I was like, "There's no way that was fucking Psylocke. That was not Psylocke." And then it was supposed to be Psylocke.
Uh-huh. Not Olivia Munn. Justice to Olivia Munn, who worked so hard.
She deserved.
But
Someone commented to say like, "Oh, but her role sucked," and I was like, "But she got nothing to do. I don't blame her for that because
that
she
bitch
has
learned how to
like,
use a sword to be in that movie.
yeah,
Like she was so excited and like talked
and
so
have
eloquently about being like Asian and British. Like
yeah."
that's like
And
man.
then I think she has like three lines the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Uh, what grade do what grade do we give the season overall? I think that'll make it a better grade because I think C plus. I think C plus, yeah, C plus B minus is where I'm landing. I'm an easy grader. Anthony, what grade should you give it?
If I were still in academia, if I was still grading papers, I would write revise and resubmit at the top of this and hand it back. Because there's some work here that is good,
Yeah.
and I want you to go back and think about it and do it again. So
Think
that's
about it
my
and
grade on
do it
it.
again.
Like, take a minute, get some sleep, and try again. That's how I feel.
Ashley? The face.
It's like if I do it this way, I would legitimately give the first 4 episodes of this season like an A minus. Like
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
loved
Yeah.
them that fucking much. They came out the gate swinging. I was like, because I'm gonna be real with you. I walked into the season like, let me not have the expectations that I had season one
Yeah.
because I love season one that much. I was like, I don't want to be unfair to it
Yeah.
because I have shows where it's like season two is good. Wasn't as good as season one, but
Right.
season two was good. I don't want to take away from it just because it wasn't as good as season one. So I
Mhm.
deliberately did that. But the way they came out swinging the first
Yeah.
4 episodes, like, bitch,
I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
don't
it's
this is
try
totally
gonna
the
be.
me.
meme,
Yeah.
the meme of the horse, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
I was like, shit.
yeah.
And then if I had to grade the last 4 episodes, I'd probably give it like a C, solid C, C minus. Like I really
All right.
genuinely
Yeah.
disliked it that like is it what I played in the background while grading papers? Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, is it as bad as Madam Web? Of course not. But like it was really not. Like I would treat Wolverine as a decent filler. Like I'd watch it just on its own, and if I could ignore the fact it's supposed to be part of a season. But when I think about it being part of a season, it's like this is where everything went downhill. So I say this to say A minus the first 4 episodes, like a C minus the last 4 episodes. I guess we put that together.
C
It comes out
word.
to what?
C
Like
plus B
a
minus.
B
Right.
minus, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is my logic. And the reason why I say it like that is because when I just say B minus, I'm gonna be real with you. I hated the last 4 episodes so much. I feel like I'm giving it more than it deserves when I say B minus. But those first 4 episodes were fucking excellent. And I feel bad that it's carrying the entire season on its back like this. But if I do it like that math wise, then I'd give it probably a B minus. But like those last, especially the last 3 episodes, was very, very, that was very upsetting.
Yeah.
That was upsetting. I don't know what was going on, but to the voice actors, you did a phenomenal job. To the animators, you did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with the in the writing room in the last 3 episodes, maybe four, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining me. If you like Slayer Fest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube because all our episodes are video recordings, as Anthony forgets every episode now.
Hey, my mother-in-law's day bed is looking great in this
It wasn't,
episode.
I promise it wasn't a knock at your background. It's just I know you're always like, wait, is this a video recording? And if you like us, you can find us on all social media platforms at SlayerFestX98. We have a Patreon. We're going through X-Men the Anime Series, Batman the Anime Series, and every episode of Buffy as it turns 25. We have season 6 coming up. Oof. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Ian X Carlos. Anthony, where can everyone find you?
I'm on most apps except the evil one, the most evil one, at Mia Koopa, Meakoopa. You can buy my book Dayspring. You can read my Marvel comics on the Infinity app. Yeah,
No big deal.
whatever,
Ashley, where can everyone find you?
I am Ashley K. Smalls everywhere. I am most active right now, probably on Threads. Um, that
Keep
other
meaning
app,
to.
I am there, but you know, like I say all the time, only follow me there if you're mad at me, by all means.
I keep meaning to post more on Threads. I'm like, maybe I will start going on
I
because
had not turned that one on.
I open it to like screenshot if I'm looking for like a meme post of like X-Men memes. I'll like because they have like you click on the X-Men thing and then it shows you all this. So I'll do that, but I never post. Yeah. All right, everyone. We will see you next time. We have one more episode for X-Men 97. It is going to be I have a few cast interviews lined up for this weekend. So then the episode will be coming out next week as kind of a season 2 exit interview. Over on our Etsy. We have new X-Men themed pins like this Polaris and Psylocke that I
Ooh.
love. And yeah, the next thing we'll be covering is Angel season 5, which is
Oh.
my favorite season of Angel. But we might have some Heated Rivalry episodes in between. And yeah, make sure you subscribe. Let us know what you thought of the finale, and we'll see you for season 3. Bye.